The desert was burning under a twin-sun sky. Wind carried red dust through the canyon, sweeping over broken armor and shattered weapons. The silence of death spread across the battlefield, but the silence did not last long. Echoes of steel still rang between the high cliffs where two figures faced each other. One was human, breathing slow and steady, though blood trickled down his leg. The other was not human at all, but a towering alien warrior woman, her silver skin glowing faintly under the sun, her eyes sharp like blades themselves. She moved with the grace of a predator, armored in plates that seemed alive, each piece shifting with her muscles. The alien was known among her kind as a war champion, undefeated in 100 battles. To her, this human was just another enemy, just another body that would fall. But the way he sat on the stone, bleeding yet calm, made her hesitate for a heartbeat. The war had come suddenly. It was not declared with banners or messengers, but with fire raining from the sky. Her people descended upon the human colony, believing them weak, soft, unprepared. And yet, in the chaos of battle, she had seen something she did not expect. The humans did not beg. They did not flee. They stood with broken weapons and fought with fury in their eyes. This one in front of her, his name was Marcus, had already taken down 3 of her soldiers before she cornered him here in the canyon. His leg was wounded badly, a deep cut from her blade earlier, yet his face held no fear. He wiped the blood with his hand and gave her a smile. That smile was not arrogance, not madness, but something more dangerous. It was defiance. She raised her sword again, its edge glowing with heat, forged from alien steel that could cut through walls of stone. She thought she would end it quickly. She thought she would see the human finally cry out in pain. She struck his wounded leg with all her strength, aiming to shatter his will, but the sound that followed was not his scream. It was the sharp crack of her blade breaking apart. Sparks flew, the weapon split, and fragments of glowing steel scattered on the rocks. She froze in disbelief, staring at the broken hilt in her hand. Her kind had built this weapon from the strongest alloy known across the stars, unbroken through wars fought in 3 galaxies. And now it lay shattered because of this human. Marcus did not move, did not strike back. He only looked up at her with that same smile. It was the kind of smile that carried stories untold. It said, "You will not win, not against me, not against my kind." His silence was louder than any battle cry. The alien warrior's chest tightened. She was trained never to show weakness, never to falter. But something inside her shifted as her eyes met his. Why did her hands tremble? Why did her heart race as if she had just faced something more terrifying than death? Around them, the battlefield was empty, only the red wind watching. She could finish him even without the sword, she told herself. She could crush him with her bare hands if she wanted. And yet, for the first time, she hesitated. The strength in his broken body seemed greater than the army she had led. Marcus pushed himself up, leaning against the stone, his legs still bleeding. He spoke at last, his voice low but steady. "If that was your best, then you'll need more." The words carried across the canyon, soft but sharp. To her ears, they did not sound like a threat but a promise. The human was wounded, close to collapse, yet he stood as though nothing in the galaxy could break him. The alien warrior remembered every lesson taught to her since childhood, how humans were fragile, how their bones snapped easily, how their lives burned out quickly. But standing here now, she realized those lessons had been lies. Fragile? No, this man was not fragile. He was harder than her steel. She took a step back without meaning to, her heart pounding. Why was she afraid of him? Why did his smile shake the certainty that she had carried her whole life? The wind howled between them, carrying away the dust and blood. A new war was beginning here, not of armies, but of will. And in that moment, she understood something dangerous. The real power of humanity was not their weapons or their ships. It was this unyielding spirit, the ability to face death with a smile. For the first time, the alien warrior felt unsure of victory. The shards of her broken blade still glowed faintly on the rocky ground, their heat sinking into the dust before fading away. The alien warrior stared at them as if her entire world had collapsed in a single sound. She had been raised to believe her kind's weapons were eternal, unbreakable, sacred. Yet this human, wounded and cornered, had turned that belief into dust with nothing more than his own will. Marcus stood taller now, even though his body screamed with pain. His leg was bleeding heavily, but he did not flinch. He leaned on the stone wall behind him for support, every muscle tense, but his face calm. He looked at her as though he had already won, as though the war itself had already shifted in his favor. The alien warrior clenched her jaw. "Impossible," she whispered in her own tongue, her voice trembling. She wanted to strike him again, to prove to herself that this was just a mistake, but her hands betrayed her. They shook as if she were a child again, holding a blade for the first time. Marcus tilted his head. "You look surprised," he said, his voice dry but steady. "First time a human smiled back at you." His words were not loud, but they carried weight. They cut deeper than any weapon could. The alien warrior's pride burned, her mind racing. How could a man so close to death still find humor? Still find strength? She took a step forward, her armored boots grinding against the stone. The canyon's air grew heavy. "You should not still be standing," she told him, her voice sharper now. "Your blood is leaving you. You should have fallen long ago." Marcus smirked, the corner of his mouth lifting. "Maybe, but you don't know us. Humans don't fall that easy." For a moment, silence stretched between them again. The wind carried red dust past their faces. The canyon felt alive, as though it too waited for what would happen next. The alien warrior thought back to the start of the invasion. She remembered her commanders mocking the humans, calling them soft creatures of comfort, too weak to resist. She had believed those words too. She had believed humans would crumble at the first strike. And yet here was one man, proving them all wrong. She lowered the broken hilt of her sword and instead reached for the dagger strapped to her thigh. Smaller, faster, but just as deadly. She spun it in her hand with practiced grace, the blade catching the sunlight. Marcus saw it, but did not move away. His smile remained, though his body swayed slightly. He was running out of strength, but his spirit had not dimmed. She rushed at him, her body a blur of silver and gold. The dagger flashed toward his chest. Marcus moved at the last second, twisting his body. The blade cut across his arm, drawing fresh blood, but he grabbed her wrist with his other hand, holding her in place. The alien warrior gasped. His grip was iron. Even wounded, even weak, his hand was unshakable. She tried to pull free, but his fingers tightened like a vice. "You fight like a storm," Marcus said, his voice low, but storms pass. Rocks remain. The alien warrior's heart pounded. She could feel the heat of his blood against her skin, and yet she felt trapped, not by his strength alone, but by the weight of his words. This was not how it was supposed to go. He was supposed to be broken. He was supposed to be begging for his life. Instead, he was teaching her fear. She jerked her knee upward, striking his wounded leg. Pain shot through him, but he did not scream. He gritted his teeth, forcing himself to stay silent. His eyes locked on hers, burning with defiance. For the first time in her life, she stepped back not out of strategy but out of fear. She looked at him and saw something more dangerous than any weapon. A human who refused to break. Her breathing quickened. Her chest felt heavy. She hated it, this feeling of being unsure. She had faced monsters with fangs and claws, warriors twice her size, and machines built for war. None of them had made her feel like this. None of them had made her heart race with confusion. Marcus leaned against the rock again, still holding his arm where blood ran down. His smile had not faded. "You don't have to understand us," he said, his voice quiet but clear. "But you will learn why no one conquers humans for long." His words echoed in her head long after he spoke them. They sounded less like a threat and more like a truth written in stone. The alien warrior lowered her dagger slightly, her eyes locked on him. She wanted to end this, but something inside her stopped her. Something she could not name. For the first time, she wondered if this war was already lost. The canyon wind howled louder, carrying the smell of iron and smoke. Marcus leaned against the jagged rock, his chest rising and falling heavily, but his eyes never left hers. The alien warrior's dagger still gleamed in her hand, but she had not moved to finish him. She could not explain why. Something inside her refused the order her mind screamed at her to follow. Then voices echoed from above. Harsh, commanding, in her people's tongue. She recognized them instantly, her commanders. 3 of them stood on the ridge, armored and armed, watching her with narrowed eyes. Their shadows stretched long over the canyon floor. "Why is he still alive?" one of them called. His voice carried judgment like a blade. "End it now, before the others see your hesitation." The alien warrior stiffened. Shame burned in her chest. She was a champion, chosen for her skill, trained never to fail. And yet she had failed. She should have struck this human down long ago. She should have ended the fight in one clean strike. Marcus heard the voices, though he did not understand the words. He could read their tone, their anger. He gave her a crooked grin. "Looks like your friends aren't happy with you." Her teeth clenched. She wanted to silence him, but his words dug under her armor. Her commanders were not just watching, they were judging. If she showed weakness, if she hesitated again, they would not forgive her. In her culture, failure was not tolerated. She would be cast aside, disgraced, maybe even executed. She raised her dagger again. Her hand shook. She told herself it was only from exhaustion, not fear. She stepped toward Marcus, but Marcus did not step back. His wounded leg barely held him, but his spirit held strong. His smile was calm, almost mocking. He lifted his chin as if daring her. "Go on," he said softly. "Do it, or are you afraid?" Her chest tightened. Those words pierced her deeper than any wound. She had never been accused of fear, never felt it so clearly until this moment. The commanders shouted again from the ridge. "Kill him, or we will." Her heart pounded. If they interfered, Marcus would die. And yet, as strange as it was, she did not want him to die. She could not explain why. He was her enemy, a fragile human, yet something about him burned brighter than all the warriors she had ever known. She looked into his eyes again. They were not the eyes of a victim. They were not begging for mercy. They were daring her to look deeper. And when she did, she saw something that made her tremble. She saw certainty. He knew something she did not. He knew that even if he fell here, humanity would not be broken. Her grip faltered. The dagger lowered slightly. The commanders noticed. Their anger echoed through the canyon. One of them raised a plasma spear, aiming it straight at Marcus. "If you cannot do it, then I will." Her body moved before her mind could catch up. She spun, throwing her broken hilt like a weapon. It struck the commander's spear, knocking it aside. Sparks flew as metal clashed against energy. The commander stumbled back in shock. The canyon fell silent. All eyes turned to her. Marcus blinked, surprised, but his smile only widened. "You dare?" Another commander hissed from above. "You protect this human?" The alien warrior's breath came fast. She looked at Marcus, then back at her commanders. Her voice shook, but she forced the words out. He cannot be killed like this." The commanders laughed, a sound sharp and cruel. "You have grown weak," one spat. "You shame us all. Perhaps we should end both of you together." They began to descend the ridge, their weapons glowing with deadly light. Dust scattered as their armored boots struck the canyon floor. Marcus pushed himself up straighter. his hand still gripping his bleeding arm. "Looks like they're not here for a chat," he muttered, almost amused. The alien warrior's throat tightened. She had never defied her people before. But standing here now, she realized she had already crossed the line. Her commanders would not forgive this. She had chosen, though she still did not understand why. She stood between Marcus and the approaching figures. Her dagger lifted, no longer aimed at the human, but at her own kind. Her heart pounded, her mind screamed, but her body was steady now. Marcus tilted his head, his eyes narrowing as he watched her stance. For the first time since the fight began, he did not see her as just an enemy. He saw something else. And in that moment, in the canyon filled with dust and blood, an impossible alliance was born. The commanders landed in the canyon with thunderous steps, their heavy armor scattering dust and small stones. 3 towering figures, blades glowing, eyes fixed on the one who had dared to defy them. The alien warrior felt their gaze burn into her. She had stood against many enemies, but never against her own kind. Marcus leaned on the rock, his wounded leg trembling, but his eyes sharpened. He had seen this before, leaders turning on their own when pride was wounded. He understood enough to know that she had chosen him, even if she didn't fully understand it herself. And now, they would both pay the price. The lead commander's voice thundered through the canyon. "You bring shame to us all, champion. You protect a human? A fragile creature? You betray your blood." Her grip on the dagger tightened. "He is not fragile," she said, though her voice cracked. "He is stronger than you think," the commanders sneered. "Then you will die with him." They advanced as one, weapons raised. Marcus forced himself upright, pushing off the rock with a grunt. His entire body screamed with pain, but he would not sit while others fought. He staggered to the alien warrior's side. "If we're going down," he muttered, "might as well do it standing." She glanced at him, surprise flickering in her silver eyes. For a heartbeat, she almost told him to stay back, but the determination in his face stopped her. He was already part of this fight. The first commander charged, swinging his plasma spear in a deadly arc. The alien warrior met the strike with her dagger, sparks exploding as metal clashed. The force pushed her back, her boots scraping against the stone. The second commander rushed Marcus, believing the human to be the weak link. Marcus ducked under the glowing blade, his reflexes sharper than his wounded body should have allowed. He grabbed a jagged rock from the ground and slammed it into the commander's helmet with all his strength. The alien staggered, roaring in rage. The third commander circled, waiting for an opening. His glowing weapon hummed with deadly energy. The alien warrior twisted, blocking another blow. Her dagger slid along the spear, her body moving like lightning. But she was outnumbered, and every strike rattled her bones. Marcus fought with raw desperation, his every move fueled not by training, but by sheer refusal to give up. The commanders laughed as they pressed the attack. "Look at him," one sneered. "Bleeding, broken, yet still standing. A stubborn animal." Marcus grinned through the pain. "Better an animal that fights than a coward who hides." His words cut deeper than his rock. The commanders snarled and swung wildly. Marcus dodged, though the blade grazed his side, burning flesh. He stumbled, but did not fall. The alien warrior saw him bleeding more heavily now. Something inside her ignited. She had never cared for the lives of enemies before. But this man, his defiance was unlike anything she had ever known. It was a fire her people had never taught her to understand. And for reasons she could not name, she wanted that fire to keep burning. With a roar, she struck harder, her dagger flashing. She moved between Marcus and the commanders, her body a shield. Her blade met their spears again and again, sparks flying. Every strike of theirs was stronger than hers, yet she refused to step aside. Marcus forced himself back into the fight, swinging the rock until it shattered in his hand. He grabbed the fallen plasma spear from the first commander and lifted it. its weight nearly pulling him down. Still, he held it like a warrior, blood dripping from his fingers. The commanders hesitated for the first time. The sight of a human wielding one of their sacred weapons unsettled them. His grip was clumsy, but his eyes blazed. The alien warrior felt the shift too. She met Marcus's gaze for a moment, and in that brief look, an understanding passed between them. They were no longer enemies. They were standing together against something greater. The lead commander roared in fury, charging with a flurry of strikes. Marcus blocked one with the plasma spear, the weapon vibrating so hard it almost knocked him down. But he held on. The alien warrior darted forward, slicing across the commander's arm. Sparks and blood flew. The canyon shook with their battle. Dust fell from the cliffs, echoing every clash of metal and every shout. Finally, the commanders stepped back, regrouping. Their armor was dented, their pride wounded. The lead one growled, "This is not over. You have chosen your death." They retreated toward the ridge, leaving the canyon thick with silence once more. Marcus collapsed against the stone, gasping, sweat dripping down his face. His leg shook, his side burned, but he was still alive. He gave a tired grin. "Guess we made our point." The alien warrior stood beside him, her chest rising and falling, her dagger stained. She looked at him, her thoughts in chaos. She had turned against her people for him. She had chosen him, though she didn't yet know why. But deep inside, a truth whispered. This war was no longer just about victory or defeat. It was about something larger, something her people had never understood. And as she looked at Marcus, she knew her life would never be the same. Night fell over the canyon like a heavy curtain. The twin suns dipped below the horizon, leaving the sky painted with red streaks and shadows crawling over the stone. Marcus sat by a small fire he had managed to spark with flint from his survival pack. His leg throbbed, his side burned, but he stayed awake, watching the flames. Across from him, the alien warrior crouched in silence. The light of the fire reflected off her silver skin, her eyes glowing faintly in the dark. She had not spoken since their battle with the commanders. Her dagger rested on her knee, her grip tight, as though she expected them to return at any moment. "They'll come back, won't they?" Marcus finally asked. His voice was low, raspy. She did not look at him. "Yes, they will not forgive this. I have broken the code. I have raised my weapon against them. I am already marked for death." Marcus poked the fire with a stick, sparks leaping into the night. "And me?" Her eyes lifted, locking on his. "You are already their enemy. But now you are worse than that. You are proof that their strength can break." Marcus let out a dry laugh, though pain twisted his face. "Guess that makes us both outlaws." Her jaw tightened. She wanted to deny it, to cling to the pride of her people, but the truth was already too clear. She had crossed a line, and there was no going back. Above them, a distant sound echoed the hum of alien engines. She shot to her feet, scanning the sky. "They are hunting us already," she whispered. Marcus tried to rise but stumbled, his leg too weak. She reached out without thinking, catching him under the arm, pulling him up. He was heavy, his body battered, but she did not let him fall. "Move," she said firmly. "If they find us here, we die." Together they climbed deeper into the canyon, the fire left behind to fade into smoke. The walls rose higher around them, shadows swallowing their path. Every step Marcus took was agony, but he gritted his teeth and pushed forward. "Why are you helping me?" he asked after a while, his breath ragged. "You could have let them kill me. You'd still have your place." She did not answer at first. The question echoed in her own head. Why was she helping him? She had trained all her life to see humans as lesser, to see them as prey. And yet, when she looked at Marcus, she did not see weakness. She saw strength beyond reason. She saw something that made her tremble, not fear, but something else she did not yet understand. Finally she said, "Because killing you felt wrong." Marcus glanced at her, his smile faint but real. "I'll take that as a compliment." The engines grew louder. Lights flashed across the sky, searching beams sweeping the canyon. The alien warrior pressed Marcus against the rock wall, shielding him with her body as a patrol passed overhead. The beams swept close, dust glowing under their light, but did not find them. When the noise faded, Marcus let out a long breath. "They're serious about this. They will not stop," she replied, her voice heavy. "My people do not forgive betrayal. They will hunt us until one of us is dead." Marcus leaned his head back against the stone, exhaustion tugging at him. "Then we don't let them win." Her eyes lingered on him. Even wounded, he spoke with certainty. His body was breaking, but his spirit was not. That fire again, the fire that unsettled her, that fascinated her. They moved again, deeper into the twisting canyon until they reached a cave hidden by stone and shadow. Inside, the air was cool and damp. She helped Marcus sit against the wall, then crouched nearby, listening for the sounds of pursuit. For the first time since the battle, silence settled around them. Marcus looked at her, his voice quieter now. "What's your name?" She blinked. No one had asked her that in years, not even her own kind. She hesitated before answering. "Serenia," Marcus smiled faintly. "Serenia. Figures a name that sharp would belong to someone who fights like you." Her lips parted slightly, surprised by the warmth in his tone. Among her people, names were tools, marks of duty. But when he spoke hers, it sounded different. Almost human. Almost alive. For a long time, neither spoke. The night stretched on, filled with distant hums of ships and the whisper of desert winds. Finally, Serenia broke the silence. "Why do you smile even when you bleed? Even when you face death?" Marcus chuckled weakly. "Because if I let them see fear, they win. And humans, we don't give our enemies that gift." His words sank into her like a blade of truth. She turned her gaze away, but her heart beat faster. This human, broken and bleeding, carried a power her people had never understood. And as she sat in the shadows of the cave, she realized something terrifying. She no longer wanted him to die. She wanted to see how far that fire could burn. The cave did not hold silence for long. By dawn, the air trembled with the growl of engines. Serenia's ears caught it first low, steady, relentless. Her people were closing in. Marcus forced himself upright, leaning against the stone wall. His face was pale, sweat dripping down his brow, but his eyes were sharp. He knew what was coming. "They found us." Serenia nodded once. Yes, neither spoke of running. They both understood there was no place left to run. The canyon was a trap now, and the hunters were closing the jaws. Outside, the shadows of armored figures stretched across the stone. Dozens this time, more soldiers than before. The commanders had not forgiven her defiance. They had returned with force. Serenia drew in a breath, her dagger glowing faintly in her grip. "Marcus," she said, her voice quieter now, "when the fight begins, stay behind me. They will kill you first." Marcus gave a weak laugh. "I don't think I've ever been good at standing behind anyone." She looked at him, his face worn, his body broken, yet that smile was still there. The same smile that had shattered her certainty. And now, as the sound of marching boots filled the canyon, she realized she did not want to face them alone. The soldiers appeared at the cave mouth, weapons glowing, their eyes burning with fury. The lead commander stepped forward, the same one whose arm Marcus had scarred in battle. His voice thundered. "Serenia, you are no longer one of us. Today you and the human die together." Serenia's chest rose and fell. She tightened her grip on the dagger. She was ready to die fighting, but Marcus pushed himself forward, stumbling until he stood beside her. He lifted the plasma spear he had taken, its weight almost breaking his arm. Yet he held it steady. "Guess we'll give them a good show," he muttered. The first wave charged. The cave erupted in light and fury. Serenia moved like lightning, her dagger flashing, slicing through armor. Marcus fought beside her, slower, weaker, but with every strike carrying raw will. He blocked with the spear, slammed it into enemies twice his size, refusing to fall. For a moment, Serenia thought they might be crushed under sheer numbers. The soldiers surrounded them, blades and spears flashing. Yet every time Marcus should have fallen, he didn't. Every time her strength should have failed, his voice kept her steady. At one point, a soldier broke through, slamming Marcus against the wall. The weapon aimed for his heart. Serenia saw it, her own voice breaking as she lunged. She struck with her dagger, driving it through the soldier's chest. Blood sprayed, the soldier collapsed, and Marcus gave her that same tired grin. "You're getting faster," he said. "Breathless. You're too reckless," she shot back. But her heart raced, not with anger, but with something else she could no longer deny. The battle raged on. Soldiers fell one by one, their disbelief growing. How could a wounded human fight like this? How could one of their champions stand against her own? Finally, only the commander remained. His armor cracked, his pride bleeding. He glared at Serenia with hate. "You will burn for this betrayal. You and your fragile human both." Serenia's hand trembled. Her arm was heavy. But Marcus stepped forward, limping, his blood staining the stone. He lifted the spear once more, his voice steady. "Fragile doesn't break as easy as you think," the commander roared, charging. Marcus braced himself. At the last moment, Serenia joined him, their weapons crossing in a single strike. The commander's blade shattered under the combined force. His body collapsed, his weapon falling in pieces at their feet. Silence filled the canyon. The dust settled. The battle was done. Marcus sank to the ground, gasping for breath, his strength finally failing. Serenia dropped to her knees beside him, her chest heaving. She looked at him, at the blood and exhaustion, and yet, there it was again. "That smile, you humans," she whispered, her voice shaking. "You're impossible." Marcus chuckled weakly. "That's what keeps us alive." She stared at him for a long moment. Something in her heart shifted, something she had never felt before. She had betrayed her people, lost her place, lost her honor. Yet looking at Marcus, she felt no regret. For the first time she felt free. The dawn broke over the canyon, painting the rocks in gold. The battle was over, but a new path lay ahead, one she had never imagined. Serenia reached out, resting her hand gently on his shoulder. "Then I will walk with you, human. Wherever this fire of yours burns, I will follow." Marcus smiled wider, even through the pain. "Then we're not done yet," and together, wounded but unbroken, they faced the rising sun.